When it comes to revenge, there's really two issues. The one is halachic. When is it permissible and impermissible? But also, what's the Torah view or the Jewish view, or what is the truth? It could be not Torah-related issues also, like psychology and things like that. About revenge. Is it good to avenge? Is it bad? Is it good to feel that I want to revenge? Is acting out of revenge good or bad? Out of anger? What revenge really is? That's really the issue for me. I'm going to try to keep it, like usual, under half an hour or so. I read a very interesting study they did with, I think it was chimpanzees. Maybe I'll send afterwards the article about this study. If I'm getting details wrong, I'm probably going to get details wrong. It was, they put a table with things the monkey would want, let's say bananas or whatever the monkey would want, on a table. And then there would be a string attached to the table. And whenever the string would cut, the table would fall, right? I don't know if the two are connected, but as far as the monkey sees, a chimpanzee sitting by the table, and he wants the banana, the table's coming, and if the table collapses, he won't get it. If the table doesn't collapse, he gets his banana or whatever the treat is. And it hinges on the string being attached to the table. So whenever the string gets cut, the table collapses, and then the monkey doesn't get its treat. If the string doesn't get cut, the chimpanzee does receive the treat. And I did this with a group of chimpanzees sitting around the same table, and each one gets its turn, and then for some of them, the string gets cut, and they don't get their banana. Then they took the same group of chimpanzees, and they put them by the string to see if they will cut the string for the other chimpanzees. And the likelihood of the chimpanzee to cut the string, to collapse the table, for those other chimpanzees that did get it, right, didn't increase depending on the chimpanzees, whether the chimpanzee received or not. So, for example, let's say a chimpanzee the table collapsed for his banana, and now it's his turn by the string. There's no more likelihood for him to cut the string for the other chimpanzee who did receive it. So the chimpanzee does not feel envious that he didn't get the banana, but his friend did get the banana, right? The chimpanzee understands that the other monkey just got lucky and I didn't get lucky, and there's no reason for me to collapse the table for the other monkey. But what's really funny about this is that they did the same experiment, a third time or a second time, I'm not sure about the details, and the chimpanzee who was on the receiving end of the table, and the other chimpanzee cut the string, and therefore this monkey didn't get the banana, then the likelihood of him cutting the string did increase. So the chimpanzee might...
Can you say that one again?
Yeah. If let's say you have 5 chimpanzees, the same as before, and let's say I'm the chimpanzee in this case, and I want the banana on this table, and a different chimpanzee cut the string for me, right? And another one didn't cut the string for me. There's more of a likelihood that I would cut the string for the chimpanzee who collapsed my table than for the chimpanzee who didn't collapse my table.
They do have gratitude.
They have revenge.
They have revenge, you're saying. Oh, I see.
Because they don't feel envious. They don't feel envious about cutting. They don't feel envious to cut the string for the chimpanzee who got lucky.
But the chimpanzee who didn't cut the string for them...
but the chimpanzee who cut the string for them, making the table collapse, would then go and avenge.
Interesting.
When the other chimpanzee cuts the string,
basically,
I might be getting details wrong in this experiment, but the point is the other chimpanzee would cut the string, making the table collapse. The chimpanzee who didn't receive his banana is angry, and therefore he will cut the string for the other one also.
Basically,
it's revenge.
Chimpanzees are able to bargain. They're able to bargain. They're just not able to. In other words, if somebody else gets something that they don't get, but they're not able to bargain it if somebody did something to them.
I remember seeing an article about bin Laden being assassinated. I mean, I felt this way when Israel killed the Hamas leaders in Iran. When a person said we feel all patriotic and all happy and excited about the killing of bin Laden, right? There's a difference between an ethical justification of a killing, right? Like saying he was a bad person, he was a threat, let's kill him, to the feeling we feel, the patriotic feeling we feel when they were assassinated. And that's also an interesting question. Why do we feel that way when something like this happens? So evolutionary biologists have made the claim, and we spoke.
And I guess the question is as well, like a very practical, is Israel allowed to take revenge against one, not just bring back?
But
are we allowed to take revenge against people who have done such a terrible thing?
I guess we'll discuss that too. But taking revenge, which means there's a difference between taking revenge and doing something which is against halakha. So if you're revenging, and by revenge you're killing someone, and you're not allowed to kill someone, then the problem isn't the revenge, it's that you killed someone.
Right.
Revenge in and of itself is what I would try to focus on. So evolutionary biologists have made the claim that that instinctual revenge serves as a deterrent. We spoke, I believe, once about the nuclear bomb paradox, right? Where a nuclear bomb is one of the most dangerous weapons, right? You fire a nuclear bomb, 2 million people die, right? Ironically, that's what creates the most safety, according to some people, because no one's going to start a war with such devastation, right? In biology, you often need compromises. They say that humans we give birth for 9 months, and the kids can't walk when they're born. You look at some animals like cats or any four-legged animals, they're born within a few hours, they're running around. Some even immediately start running as they're born. With humans, they don't. Two-legged animals like humans, we don't run around when we're born. It's supposed to be a compromise, because if the child would stay longer and be more developed, the head would be bigger, and the mother wouldn't be able to walk after giving birth. And if the pregnancy was shorter, then the mother wouldn't be able to guilt their teenager about how much pain it was to give birth to them. So you need the compromise for it to be exactly 9 months. That was a joke, but it is a compromise. It is a compromise. So the same would apply to revenge and to forgiveness. There's a certain value in forgiveness. If everyone that ever wronged you, you're not going to do business with, you're going to take revenge and hold a grudge, then such a society would never prosper properly. Such an individual would never do well, because you require mutual partnership with people, and in general, you need other people to help you. We spoke once about did we speak once about the monkeys taking the fleas off each other?
Yeah, you did.
We spoke about it once, right? That monkeys taking fleas off each other is an agreement they both make, which mutually benefits each other, right? On the other hand, revenge is also important, because if you don't take revenge, you don't have a deterrent of a guy ripping you off. So if the guy doesn't help you and you help him, no one's going to end up helping you, and you'll be remain screwed, kind of, because no one's helping you. If people hurt you and you don't take revenge, you'll become the punching bag. So you need a certain compromise between revenge and between forgiveness, and that's really, I guess, what happens with the chimpanzees in this experiment. When someone cuts my string, then I will cut his string. It's an instinctual retaliation, which serves as a deterrent. He doesn't know he's doing it as a deterrent. He just has that urge, which is biological, of taking the revenge, of being angry, and therefore punishing the anger. But on the long scale, the long run of the species, it serves as a deterrent. In future, people won't hurt monkeys because they know they'll be retaliated. Some people with a nuclear bomb, they want to institute a program where if someone bombs a certain area or certain form, automatically the nuclear bomb goes off. Why? Because if, let's say, someone nukes New York, America's going to then, let's say China nukes New York. Would America then go and nuke, the capital of China and kill random innocent people? No, that's immoral. Just because they hurt you, should you hurt them? But if it's automatic, they know it's going to happen.
But they would and they did.
Well,
They would and they did.
the fact they did, I don't know, is really the point. If they would or not is up for speculation. And China might say, you're saying that China might think they won't, and the right, and obviously would be wrong to bomb, and kill 1 million people because they bombed us.
I think the point.
But if it's automatic, China's gonna not. They can't call. Oh, they're bluffing because it's automatic. What can you do?
It's going to happen. It's not my fault. It's your fault because it was written into the software. It was always going to happen. But the point here is, it's transactional. So which city? You've done New York. Okay. Well, do I want to do Beijing or do I want to do a smaller one?
Okay.
This is where
I don't.
Where's the line of transaction? And is this like a currency, where actually what like the forgiveness is worth more? Maybe.
The forgiveness is worth more than revenge?
Yeah.
Again, the problem is with compromises like this, with finding the right line, is at a certain point, forgiveness causes more damage than good. Because you become, we spoke about the fleas on the chimpanzees once, right? In the selfish gene.
Sometimes you have to be kind to be cruel. Sometimes you're kind to be cruel, and sometimes you need to be cruel to be kind.
Right. In the selfish gene, he discusses two groups of chimpanzees. The one always helps, and the one never helps. And he explains the problem with both. The one that always helps, right? They won't be helped. So the one that never helps ends up winning. Their genes end up carrying on further because they'll never have fleas on them. And the chimpanzees that always help, they'll always have fleas on them because no one's taking them off. So slowly that's going to grow. But then when all those chimpanzees die out, then they're just going to be stuck with fleas because no one's taking their fleas off. But if you have a category of chimpanzees that will only take it off if you help them, they'll see you as kind. But if you won't take it off them, then they'll not take it off you, which is how it works actually. Then those are going to end up living because they'll cut off both groups, right? And they'll end up winning. The chimpanzees are kind, right? They'll end up losing to these because they don't get it helped as much because you have the third group who will never help. And the group that never helps will never get their fleas taken off by this group. So this group ends up winning in the long run. And you'll always have smaller groups maybe, but this gene pool would win in the long run, right? So at a certain point, you need a balance of, is this forgiveness helpful or not? And usually ends up balancing out pretty well in the long run, these kind of issues. So the role of retaliation serves as a deterrent. We just don't realize it, but that's what the function of revenge is. When I get angry and I want to revenge at someone, right, that feeling is an ethical one. It's one where I want to prevent this from happening again. I could prevent it from happening for me. I could prevent it happening in the future. And ironically, it's preventing it from happening in this very case, because if he knows I'm going to retaliate because it's human nature, to begin with, he's not going to act that way with me. It's like the nuclear bomb. Once it's integral in a person's, psychology, it's like the automatic nuclear bomb. So that's why we feel this way of revenge. Now, the Torah's perspective on revenge is a bit tricky. There are two problems we find in the Torah with revenge. The first one is that that's God's jurisdiction. So the feeling of revenge is healthy. You should feel revenge. Leave it up to God. In Hazinu, we said, Li nakam. Revenge is for me. David HaMelech says, Kil nakamot Hashem. We find often that revenge is God's jurisdiction. Revenge is good, it's healthy, but why are you doing it? Do you not believe Hashem could do it? Right? Let God do the revenge. We also find, V'ahavta l'reacha kamocha. Don't do natira, don't do nakama, because v'ahavta l'reacha kamocha, implying that you don't want the person to get something bad. Right? So you already have a contradiction in theology in the Torah itself. Now, furthermore, could you take revenge, right? There are three forms of revenge one could take. There's divine revenge. That would be like when we say, Avinu malkeinu nekom nikmat davar, right? We pray to God that he should do revenge. So we want...
against our enemy.
Right. So we want revenge, and we're asking God to do it. Right.
Say by the Seder, right?
Right. Yeah. We want revenge and want God to do the revenge. We're praying for it. So clearly, revenge is a good feeling to feel if we're praying for it in our prayers. Then you've got number two, societal or legal, right? Legal revenge, right? Where the court case itself is built up in a way with a certain, poetic justice, eye for an eye. We've got someone, kill someone, you kill him. Yeah. And the Torah says you return the gemul, retribution of the person to himself. So he blinded someone, you blinded him. You cut off his eye, right? That's revenge, but it's in the form of the legal system. So you don't let people do it and take accountability with their own hand. Then you've got personal revenge. That would be like the goel hadam. Someone killed my brother, I'll take revenge and kill him. Right? That's personal revenge. All three forms of revenge are recognized in the Torah. Now, the personal revenge is a bit more tricky because over there some people say you're not really supposed to, and the Torah just knew it's inevitable, and so different ways you could look at it. But in general, it seems like revenge is fully accepted. Now, regarding the feeling of revenge, it's more tricky. Let's say someone hurt me personally. Should I forgive them? Right? The part which says you can't take revenge should say, yeah, you should forgive them. What value is there to forgiveness if you can't take revenge? Right? If let's say someone hurts me, and then, you can't take revenge, we don't have to forgive them. What value is there to not forgiving them? Yeah.
Is this revenge different to rebuke?
Yeah. Rebuke is for the other. Revenge is for your own personal gratification. Revenge is because I feel angry, so I want to make myself feel better.
I agree. Okay.
Right. So what value is there to forgiveness? Right. Someone says, can you forgive me? I say, no, I don't forgive you. Could you then take revenge? No, you can't take revenge. So what value is there in this forgiveness? The Rambam says a person wronged you. You don't have to forgive them unless they redid the damage. Let's say they steal. You don't have to forgive them until they find a way to pay you back, right? Or they did everything they could to undo the damage, right? If they don't do that, you don't have to forgive them. And even if they did, you shouldn't be an achzar. You shouldn't be cruel about not forgiving them. You're not obliged to forgive anyone. What value is there to not forgiving someone if you can't hold resentment? If you can't take revenge? Does everyone understand the question I'm asking? The Rambam says you don't have to forgive people. What value is there to not forgiving people if you can't take revenge?
There is value. There is some value.
Okay, what the feeling you're
There are
feeling?
two different things. There's nikama.
Is the feeling different?
Is the feeling different?
Yeah.
It's not. Is the feeling different? One is a feeling, right, and one is an action.
No, I understand, but revenge is a feeling behind revenge.
Revenge is an action.
Natira. Let's think about Natira.
Natira.
It's just a thought.
The feeling. Natira is the feeling.
Okay, so that feeling, is it different to not
nikama is the
forgiving?
action.
Is it different to not forgiving?
Is it different to not forgiving? Yeah, because
How?
What is Natira different to not? No, Natira is literally.
So the Torah says you can't do Natira. Torah says you can't hold a grudge. Torah says you don't have to forgive. What value is there not forgiving if you can't hold a grudge?
Saying no, holding a grudge is. You didn't say that's not what you said.
What is Natira?
You asked Natira is holding a grudge.
Right.
You said what's.
So I'm shifting
point?
the question then.
Okay.
What value is there in not holding
All
a
right, let's
grudge?
just be clear. We just moved the
How can the
goalposts.
Torah say not to forgive? How can the Torah say not to forgive?
You don't have to forgive. If you wrong me, do I have to forgive you?
I'm wrong.
You punch me in the face and you say, oh, I'm sorry. Do I have to forgive you?
No, but I don't think there's anything wrong with forgiving someone.
No, but do I have to? Do I have to?
No.
What value is there in that ability of not forgiving you if I'm not allowed to hold a grudge? If I'm not allowed to revenge? Right. So the way I see this here is that there's two fields of study. There's the field of how a person should act, right? That would be midat chasidut, musar, a person's ideal acting. Then there's the halacha, what you're allowed and not allowed to do. And over here they diverge because there is a certain value in revenge. There's first of all it restores societal behavior. People know they'll be revenged, they'll behave differently. So it's important in that sense. It also, even if no longer it fits that purpose or function, there's a certain biological. No. So to me, it feels like the feeling we have for revenge is a kosher feeling, halachically, because you don't have to forgive. So the fact that you don't have to forgive means that the feeling we feel, I want to take revenge, is a good and kosher feeling. Otherwise, Torah would say you should forgive. And that's the Christian. There was
Doesn't it say you should forgive?
Torah says you don't have to forgive.
Somebody comes and asks for forgiveness, you're supposed to forgive.
You mean, is it a good thing to forgive? So that's already a question in Musar, not in Halacha. And generally we say if the person did everything he can to repair the damage, then you should forgive. Otherwise, you don't have any obligation to forgive. It might even be wrong to forgive. Meir Soloveichik has an article about forgiving really horrendous things, and he quotes the Rambam about Paro's heart being hardened and things like that. But sometimes it's not good. Actually, it wasn't him. That's Gil Student has an article about forgiving terrorists, and he quotes that issue about Paro's heart being hardened. Meir Soloveichik makes the argument that sometimes forgiving cruel acts, it takes away from the severity of the act. So for society, it's important to not forgive horrible actions. I mean, you have whether you should forgive or not is one question. Whether you have to forgive or not, or halacha, does it have a problem with you feeling that way? To me, it's clear you don't, if you don't have to forgive. Now, there's a concept in the Talmud called taromet. It's a very interesting concept. I'll give an example. You make a business deal with someone. And then he changes his mind. He wants to back out of the business deal. No kinyan was made, no money was given. It was just speaking, but he just had a lot of effort and time invested in something. And now you change your mind and it screws up his plans. And it could be he was relying on these plans also. Now, since there was no serious kinyan, money, anything, whether money is only a Torah kinyan, it's not a real kinyan. Nonetheless, if there was nothing at all, you can't even curse him out in court. But you're allowed to have taromet. You're allowed to be angry with him. What value is there to being angry with him? So there are a lot of people discussing this idea. Rabbi Israel Salanter, for example, says that you're never allowed to be angry with another Jew unless he committed a sin like this. Unless there's a reason to be angry with him and you can have taromet, for example. Rabbi Epstein wrote a book called Mitzvat HaMusar. And in this book, he discusses the idea of taromet also, where he claims that there's a certain financial loss you had that you can't claim in court. So you can claim it with anger. Anger has a certain financial value, and he calls it to sue someone in the court of the hearts. You can't sue him for money, but he caused a certain amount of anguish, which is a part of business, without the value in the money so the taromet is a form of suing. Another very interesting claim I've seen is that it's a form of payment. The person hurt you. The fact that you can now complain about him, be angry with him, say lashon hara about him, all these things, it's a form of repayment. A similar argument psychologists have made regarding revenge. When someone hurts you, he punched you in the face, Him giving you $10, $20 doesn't make up for the punch. The only form of a payment, it's not a full payment, but the only form of a compensation you could have is by him feeling the same pain. That gives you that gratification, a certain karmic justice that he feels the pain I felt, and that's a certain form of compensation. So we can think of revenge as a form of compensation even. I saw Rabbi Greenfeld, the Maharshag, he has a tshuva, a responsum, where he's from this Talmud and his other sources also, he makes the argument that one is allowed to make revenge when someone did an offense against you to the level of taromet. You're not allowed to take revenge. There's a sort to take revenge. Someone doesn't lend you his pencil, you have to lend him a pencil. Right? Don't hold a grudge for an issue like he didn't lend you a pencil. But if someone wronged you, someone did something to offend you, then you're allowed to take revenge. That's Rabbi Greenfeld's opinion. So suppose someone punches you in the face, he offended you. It's not just that he didn't lend you a pencil, he offended you. When someone offends you, then you could take revenge.
That's very interesting.
So the way I would see this, should you take revenge? So halachically, you're allowed to take revenge if someone wrongs you. If someone doesn't do you a favor, you should still not hold a grudge and do him a favor. But if someone wrongs you, halachically, you're allowed to take revenge. But should you take revenge? That's no longer a halachic question. That's a question that comes down to two people, your psychologist and your mashpia, your spiritual guide. Spiritual books claim that taking revenge does a bad damage to the individual.
Incredibly disruptive.
Taking revenge does damage to the person. A person shouldn't take revenge. Also, psychologists argue that it can cause mental issues for someone that harbors grudges against people. We mentioned earlier that there's a certain problem with holding grudges sometimes because you need mutual participation in the future. So there are problems with grudges. But there could also be a halachic problem with grudges. That's what we mentioned earlier. Suppose someone punches me. Can I punch them back? Punching is a sin. If someone punches you, you can't punch them back. The problem isn't revenge. You're allowed to take revenge. You're not allowed to hurt. You're not allowed to punch another person. Someone that punches becomes pasul le'edut. We learned this from Moshe Rabbeinu who hit, right? Who saw people hitting, right? So you're not allowed to hit another person. So the question is, if someone punches you, he's not going to punch you again. The story's over. Could you then go and punch him? No. There are two issues. You're allowed to defend yourself. If you're in a fight with someone and he punches you, you're allowed to punch them back. Right? That's self-defense. Then there's punching for revenge. Right? The guy punched me 2 weeks ago. Now I'm angry. I see him on the street. Should I go up and punch him? Right. Now it's not self-defense. Right. It's just revenge. You're allowed to take revenge. What you're not allowed to do, you're allowed to take revenge. What you're not allowed to do is punch him out of revenge because the punching itself is forbidden. Right? Let's say someone steals money from you.
But that's saying you don't get mad, you get even, right?
Well,
Yeah.
Yeah, but when you're getting even, that would be revenge. It has to be that the way you're getting even is halachically permissible. If it entails punching someone or something that's not permissible, then you're not allowed to do that.
Fair enough.
So with that, maybe I'll do a 2-minute summary. Does that make sense of everything we discussed today? You're doing it to help someone else. If someone's beating up a child, can I go and punch that person? Yeah, that's what it sounds like your story is. Revenge would be if someone punched you 2 weeks ago, you're walking down the street, he's walking down his street, or even better, someone punched you 2 weeks ago, and then he gets into a car crash, he's in a hospital, right? You walk into the hospital, you punch him in the face. Well, that's revenge.
I think every situation is different.
Right.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Okay, so I'll do a 2-minute summary of everything we discussed today.
Really focused on, revenge as a form of deterrence. Really focused in on that.
A bit. What I mentioned about it being a deterrent is that the feeling we feel to revenge and the gratification we feel, the satisfaction we feel in revenge or in karma, right? That is not a thought of self-defense or of a deterrent. But in the grander scale of things, the reason we feel that way is because it serves as a deterrent. Because if, let's say, China nukes America, America's not going to nuke China back because just because they did something wrong to us, we can't do something immoral now. But if it's automatic, it's going to happen anyways, then it's a deterrent. The feeling we feel to take revenge makes it that the person that wants to offend me knows he's going to get it back because it's a part of our nature to avenge. Without that, there is no real deterrent because I wouldn't hurt him just because he hurt me. Unless there's that biological motive. Do you understand what I'm saying? That's what I was trying to say as it being a deterrent. I wasn't saying that the revenge itself is the deterrent. I was saying that the knowledge people are going to avenge is that, it's such an integral, you've got the Merchant of Venice. If you cut me, do I not bleed? And he says, if you wrong me, I think that's what he says, if you wrong me, do I not avenge? Or something like that, no? Right? It's a very deep part of a person, the revenge. Again, I mentioned the chimpanzees.
Then there's a whole other thing about revenge and ego, right?
2-minute summary, yeah.
Okay. The first thing I mentioned was why we feel revenge, and it's important to understand why we feel revenge, because otherwise it's easy to say don't feel revenge, right? It's important to understand that the function revenge plays and why we feel it, and why it might be important to preserve revenge. If we completely erase revenge, there will be some problems. Revenge, I quoted from the chimpanzees, right? The study. Revenge serves as a certain deterrent, and it's not envy, it's anger, right? We feel anger or angry towards someone who hurt us, so we wanna get back at them out of anger. Envy is different. Envy is wrong, but anger isn't wrong. When someone hurts you, does something to offend you, to get back at them, right?
Sorry, did you say envy is wrong?
What I mean is to mistreat someone because they're better than you, they're doing better than you. No. What I'm trying to say is to mistreat someone out of envy. That would be wrong. But to mistreat someone out of anger because they wronged you, that serves an important function. It brings stability and order, because people know that they'll be taking revenge, they won't act out of order. And that's why it's important to understand revenge. It's also important to understand forgiveness, because if you don't forgive people and you hold on a grudge, right, especially for stupid things, you'll never have a help from other people, because everyone will have offended you at some point. Without forgiveness, you'll be stuck alone, and you'll be like those people who never help anyone and never get helped. They won't get any leeches off them, right? You need people to help you. So you need both. You need a compromise somewhere. You can't erase either of the two. So where is the perfect compromise? We mentioned in the Torah, we see the Torah validates the feeling of revenge. The Torah says you could pray for God to do revenge. The court itself, tries to institute laws where you feel a certain karma, a certain poetic justice, and you yourself, the Goel Hadam, you can kill the Goel Hadam can kill the murderer and things like that, where you can see the person himself can take revenge. So the feeling of revenge is justified. When should you not take revenge? When the person didn't offend you properly, when the person didn't lend you a pencil, for example, the person didn't hurt you, didn't offend you. Person, you shouldn't be feeling anger. If anything, that would be maybe more envy, not anger. The person shouldn't feel, but if a person was wronged, the Talmud says you could have taromet, you're allowed to be angry. You're allowed to say Lashon Hara about them, you're allowed to offend them, you're allowed to do the same thing back to them, according to Rabbi Greenfeld and many other people. And this serves a certain, because we feel the feeling of revenge, and we feel better after revenge, that's the best way of compensating that anger he caused to you, that problem he caused to you. It's a form of compensation to be able to do that back to him. And that's essentially what my class was about. And